Well, when it rains, it pours in the land of end times news. That's just what happens when the birth pains get quicker and quicker. You're bound to have more and more things happening all at once. It's great to be with you guys. David, good to see you. Silhouette, he sees all. Robert, Mark, good to see you guys in the house. And guys, there's more things happening that are leading us to the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and that is what we're waiting for. We are looking for the return of Jesus Christ to accompany all these end time signs that he told us to be looking for when he would return. Hey, Krista, great to see you. And so here we are with yet another end time sign pointing to Ezekiel 38 and 39. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you can virtually just get out your Bible and start reading the news, because that's exactly what's happening. The news is happening all in front of us as the Bible plays out. It's right there in Scripture, so it's pretty amazing. So there's been a proposal made to Mr. B that after the Nord Stream blow up after the previous Nord Stream, as you know, they blew up the Russian Nord Stream lines previously that were connected to Europe, and everybody was wondering, well, who did this? Because Europe is obviously it would hurt Europe, and it would also hurt Russia. So the argument is then who? And obviously the obvious choice there would be the NWO, or the cabal that's trying to take over the world and destroy everything so they can rise like a phoenix out of the ashes. That's what they want to do. They want to bring in a new to the world, to the order, to build to the back to the better. And they want to, change the current paradigm of how things operate in the world. They want to basically take us back to the Stone Age, so that they can rise up as the kings and the heroes with all their modern technology. And it's like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. They want to be the ones who have all the advancements while the rest of us live like serfs. You'll own nothing and love it. Ha, 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 ha. So they're basically plummeting society back into this, for lack of a better word, let's just say they're plummeting it back to a place of pre-industrial era. Let's just say that pre-industrial, the ability, technology, all those things. The only technology you'll have in your life is what they're using to control you. Other than that, you will just be like, living. It's like you're living in the Stone Age, or back in the time of serfs, or when they could, kings would be over serfs only. Now they have modern technology like drones and other things that can monitor you and so forth. So that's what they're trying to do. And so they're trying to destroy the world. And so one of the ways to do that, as we shared from Mr. Pike, who's an Mason, the whole plan is to have a third world war. That's part of their plan. They understand that they need 3 world wars to bring about their one world order. So that's basically what's going on here. But it's interesting to see how it all ties with the end times, and it ties in with the Bible, and ties in with what God is doing. God told us this would happen, and now it's happening. So the question is, there's 2 Nord Stream pipelines that are going to Turkey from Russia. And so just like they blew up the ones, of Russia to Europe, are they going to blow up these as well? And will that be the hook in the jaw for Mr. Rosh, the Prince of Rosh, to make his way down to Israel? Because they'll be the only people on the block who still have gas, natural gas. I know I said oil once before, so it's natural gas, okay, that's in these pipelines. There is oil as well. I was confusing because there is oil also in Israel, which is the Golan Heights. But the gas is what they're finding out, it's being transported in these pipelines, and also natural gas that Israel has found off their shore in the Mediterranean. So they've got a lot of gold and plunder there for these guys who are quickly getting cut off. And will this be the next axe that to grind, so to speak? One of the leading American foreign policy think tanks recommends the destruction of 2 more pipelines of Russian interests, and then the revival of the East Med in order to achieve a total energy decoupling of the EU from Russia. Now we're going into winter, guys, and Europe's already scrambling, trying to figure out how are we going to get people through the winter, this cold winter, without any gas running to the homes, without any power. and that's going to be tough. The American think tank assumes in an extremely careful but revealing way that the Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed by American forces on the order of Mr. JB, the man who's currently in the House of White, and believes that America should also strike the Turkish energy corridors in order to guarantee transatlantic energy security. Well, I would say yes, it was Mr. B, because Mr. B is not American, okay? These are not Americans. These are not Westerners that are running our countries. These are despots. They're part of the cabal. They're part of the group that wants to destroy you, not help you. So the plural used indicates not only the destruction of the Turkish Stream pipeline, but also the destruction of the Russian-Turkish Blue Stream pipeline that directly supplies Turkey with natural gas. So you've got two pipelines here. You've got the Turkish one and you got the Russian one, I guess, but they're both connected from Russia to Turkey. So the article signed up by top analyst Michael Rubin when Russia's Gazprom and its European partners announced plans for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline to carry Russian gas directly to Germany. 8 members of the European Union and the Obama administration objected, and they understood that operating Nord Stream 2 would give the Kremlin leverage in Europe and also allow it to isolate Ukraine, which remains dependent on Russian energy. However, this condemnation was not enough to slow down the project. Germany craved natural gas without considering the strategic cost. Secretary of State Pompeo showed no patience. He understood that a greater reliance, et cetera, et cetera. While Mr. B now understands the fallacy of increasing Russia's share of the European energy sector, he appears blind to the larger picture. Shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, the Biden administration reversed Mr. T's pledges to support the Eastern Mediterranean pipeline, supposedly because the State Department deemed it financially feasible. Finally, with Turkey threatening a war of aggression against NATO member Greece, Mr. B ignores the danger of trading dependence on one dictator for another. It's in the national security interest of the United States to promote, achieve, and maintain energy security and through cooperation with allies. He approved the East Med pipeline and other energy infrastructure to Europe, called on Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and the United States to strengthen cooperation on energy production. So it sounds like what they're trying to do is take out, obviously these pipelines that serve Russia and Turkey, while they have their own East Med partnership pipeline, if I'm understanding this correctly, with cooperation of the Eastern Mediterranean Natural Gas Forum that involves Israel. And so this, of course, is going to prompt Turkey and Russia to come together against Israel, right? That just makes sense. So today, Turkish officials are boasting that they will double the transit of natural gas and oil to Europe. Ironically, they plan to do this by laundering Russia's hydrocarbon investments. The simple fact is that any new or improved Turk Stream is as bad an idea as Nord Stream. It emboldens both Turkey and Azerbaijan. So that's the problem, see? When you have a free, open world, everybody kind of does business together and loves one another and so forth. But when you start attacking each other, then suddenly I'm like, well, I don't know if I want your pipeline running to my country because, you are attacking us. So there's that kind of thing going on. The first consideration for new Mediterranean energy products should be that they will not harm the United States and its allies. Mr. B should give Turkish energy corridors the same treatment for ultimately gave Nord Stream 2 and for the same reasons. Now, as we know, Mr. B is historical for saying that he will destroy Nord Stream 2, and it has now been destroyed. So it's kind of the same way they say, oh, don't worry, he will leave the House of White, or don't worry, we will win the election even if we don't get the votes, that kind of thing. It's that kind of, behind the scenes, like, we're going to get this done, our secret covert operation that wants to destroy humanity and bring about their tyranny will get the job done. Okay, so that's interesting because as we look in Ezekiel, we see that the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face against Gog and the land of Gog, the chief prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, which most believe to be Russia, Turkey, and perhaps Syria as well. And to say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I'm against you, Gog, chief prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army. So right now, the prince of Rosh is focused on Ukraine, but God's going to turn him around, put hooks in his jaw, and bring out his whole army. Your horses, your horsemen fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia, which is Iran, Cush, Ethiopia, and Put, Libya. So we just talked about that in the last video, how they're already united with Russia. Will be with them all with shields and helmets. Now, were they ever united before like this? No. This is like a first time in history that all these countries are all coming together like this. Also, Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north with all its troops. So, Gomer, it's interesting to understand this Gomer. We were talking about Germany last time. Obviously, they're part of Europe. But it's interesting to think, is this talking about maybe, those in the Caucasus regions, where exactly these other groups might be coming from. Get ready, be prepared, you and all the hordes gathered about you, and take command of them. After many days you will be called to arms. In future years you will invade a land, because obviously this was written many years ago. Now we're in the future years, that has recovered from war, whose people were gathered from many nations to the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. They have been brought out from the nations, and now all of them live in safety. You and all your troops and the many nations with you will go up, advancing like a storm. You'll be like a cloud covering the land. Now we know that Iran, Persia, has famously now their attack drones that have already been used in Ukraine. And so could this be the cloud that covers the land, so to speak? Because you put enough drones in the sky, it looks like a cloud coming over the land. So that's an interesting thought. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On that day, your thoughts will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme. You will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages, which is basically what Israel is. They do have the walls of the old city, but they don't really have walls on the rest of Israel that I'm aware of. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living without walls and without gates and bars. I will plunder and loot and turn my hand against the resettled ruins and the people gathered from the nations, rich in livestock and goods, living at the center of the land. Now, Israel does live right in the center of the land. It's kind of an interesting terminology when you think about Israel. If you look here, if you go to the maps and we look at Israel, we've talked about this before, how they are like the tree in the middle of the garden, going back all the way to the Garden of Eden. God put them in the middle of his garden. And so it's kind of interesting that they're in the middle of the land, and that's exactly where they are, right? Smack in the middle of all these people, right? Right there in the center. So it's kind of interesting to see it all being played out now. So it says, I will plunder and loot, right? So what plunder are they coming for? Well, Israel has just recently found all this natural gas off in the Mediterranean. They've got all this oil that's waiting to be mined up there in the Golan Heights that's supposed to be more than Saudi Arabia. So they have a lot of plunder and loot to be plundered. And so it makes sense that if these guys are getting their pipelines blown up, they may look to Israel and say, well, who does have a pipeline that's nearby that we can still get access to? Because obviously it's a lot easier to get to Israel than it is to try to take it from America or somewhere else. So if their pipelines are getting cut off and Israel's down there like raking in the cash as they are filling that void for Europe and other places to send their natural gas and oil, these guys are going to be saying, hey, wait a minute, we want a piece of that action, and they're going to want to come plunder that loot. And so he's going to turn my hand against the sort of ruins in the center of the land. Sheba and Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish and all her villages will say to you, have you come to plunder? Have you gathered your hordes to loot? That's exactly what they're going to do. See, up to now, you might go, well, gee, what would they be plundering, looting from Israel? But now you can totally see it, right? When you have prophetic vision, so to speak, and I'm not saying that it means you're a prophet. I'm saying that we're looking at the prophecies. We're looking through the prophecies at current events, right? So through the prophetic filter, we can see like, wow, that's the plunder. That's the loot that they're coming for, to carry off silver and gold, which it's the equivalent of silver and gold is natural gas and oil. I mean, that's how you get silver and gold. To take away livestock and goods and to seize much plunder. It's all about the plunder. Therefore, son of man, because you think, why would all these nations just come to a little nation of Israel to get plunder? Like, what are they possibly going to get there? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say to God, this is what the sovereign Lord says, in that day when my people Israel are living in safety, will you not take notice of it? You will come from your place in the north, you and your many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. Again, there's that cloud covering the land. So I'm guessing there's going to be, air power involved, which there has been. If you think about it, they have the Iron Dome, and they're always shooting missiles at Israel. So it makes sense it's going to come from the sky. in days to come, Gog and I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know me and that I am proved holy through you before their eyes. That's interesting. God is going to be proved holy through Gog. So that's interesting. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You are the one I spoke of in former days by my servants, the prophets of Israel. At that time, they prophesied for years that I would bring you against them. Kind of like now, we've been prophesying for years that God's going to bring him against them. This is what will happen in that day. When Gog attacks the land of Israel, my hot anger will be aroused, declares the Lord. In my zeal and fiery wrath, I declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. Now, we are waiting for this great earthquake of Revelation 6, as we talked about in the previous video. And I've shared this in many videos, but there's a strong possibility that Revelation 6 and the events in Ezekiel 38 may coincide, because we know that God appears here in Revelation 6. There's a great earthquake. The sky, things fall from the sky like figs. We talked about that in the previous video, talking about the right now how there's 4 objects that are going over the earth right now at Yom Kippur that may be these late figs that fall. Who knows? But then we also see that everybody hides in the rocks, and they say, "Hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne in the wrath of the Lamb." Well, here God is describing that he's gonna create this earthquake, and then that everyone's gonna tremble at his presence. It says, "The fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence," which is exactly what we just saw there in Revelation 6. Everyone's hiding and trembling at God's presence. So like he is there. He's right there when it happens. And the mountains will be overturned, the cliffs will crumble, and every wall will fall to the ground. I had shared before that as we were waiting for different dates that came and went and when God might return, I had talked about the fact that really what we're waiting for is Gog and Magog and all these guys to surround Israel. And, I've kind of gone back and forth with that. I'm like, well, it's possible. It could be. There is a second earthquake that happens in Revelation 8. So it could be that it's that earthquake that it's referring to. But the fact is that he's going to show himself through Gog before their eyes. God is going to show his presence, and that they're going to tremble at God's presence. So they're not trembling at Gog and his army. They're trembling over this earthquake, and they're trembling at God's presence, which is very, very similar to what happens there in Revelation 6. And the mountains are overturned, and the mountains fall from their place. So that also happens. He says, "I will summon a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the Lord. Every man's sword will be against his brother. I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, burning sulfur on him and on his troops and on the many nations." Well, we know that's exactly what happens in Revelation 8. One of the first things that happens is giant hailstones coming down. So it is kind of intriguing that it ties right in with the plagues of Revelation as well. "And so I will show my greatness and holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I'm the Lord." So the good news in all this, guys, is that it points to it's time for the plunder, okay? It's time to go to the land down under and steal all their plunder. So they're going to have to go to the land down under. Not talking about Australia here. I'm talking about the land underneath them, which is Israel. Russia and Turkey, as you see, they're little buddies here. You got Russia up here in the upper right-hand corner. You got Turkey here, and they're like, "Hey, let's go down and get it from that. Let's go steal that kid's lunch." That's what they're going to do. Let's go down and get it from those bozos, is the way they're going to say it. The bullies come down. So you got Russia up here above the Black Sea. You got Turkey, and they're looking down here at Israel, who's got all the plunder, because now their pipelines are getting destroyed. The ones that go run from Turkey to Israel, perhaps Turkey to Russia, perhaps. That's what they're proposing. And then the ones that were over here running, where is it? Up here, this where's the Nordstrom one is the one that goes up here from Germany. So from Germany up to Russia here in the Baltic Sea, that's the one that just got destroyed. And so now they're talking about they might destroy this one over here in the Black Sea, so that Turkey and Russia are cut off. So then they're going to be like, okay, that's it. Who else has oil? Who has, not oil? Well, they do have oil too. That's what I'm saying. There's lots of plunder there. But the natural gas, who else has this natural gas? Because we're getting cut off here. And then Israel's over here like raking in the dough, quietly filling in the gaps, so to speak. They can't even keep up with the demand as they move their oil. And I guess, not oil, sorry, I keep saying oil, gas, through Egypt. So they're going to, I guess Egypt is the one delivering it to them. I'm not exactly sure how they're doing that. If they're doing it in tanks or if there's another pipeline running here too. I have to look into that. I think Egypt may have another pipeline over here too, going to Greece or Italy or somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure about that. But that's something it's very interesting that everything is lined up for Russia and Turkey to have every reason to come to their nearby neighbor and say, "Pony up, Israel. We're taking your gas. We're taking your oil, and we're gonna loot you right now or get that plunder because we've been cut off and ours has been destroyed." So very interesting how things are coming together, fulfilling biblical prophecy. It's quite stunning, and appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. It's good to see He Sees All. Thanks for holding down the fort, being our mod. Woo-hoo! And Amy and David, Leslie and Robert, our members. Good to see you guys. And Ali and Tyler, great to see you guys in here. And if you haven't become a subscriber yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You can join us in the chat, and we'd love to hang out with you. And also hit the like button if you would. And consider becoming a member. Outside of these videos, we hang out in the members lounge 24 hours a day, and we share all kinds of things with each other, from links to prayers to testimonies to art to all the things that are going on in the world with each other. We brainstorm the end times and when things are going to happen and how things are going to go down. So we encourage you to join us over there in the members lounge. You can hit the join button on our channel or on this video. Thanks so much, guys. It's great to be hanging out with you today. May the Lord bless you, and I hope to see you in heaven if I don't see you back here first. And may God bless you, and I'm wishing you all the best, all the blessed, and Maranatha.